All right. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here with you all. And of course, we're on for those who watch Morning Miracles, we're usually on at 1, but we're here at 2 o'clock. And it's good to be with you all. We're doing a special live stream that is very, very important to me. And I believe it's going to be eye opening and important to you all as well, those who are used to watching Morning Miracles. And, we've talked about these things in the past about spirituality. And, a lot of us, I should say, because I'm on this journey as well, have been experiencing a lot of things spiritually, in the church. We've been divinely inspired, by God and getting what we would call prophetic words, where uh, um, the Father, who we call God, who is source, the word Father in the Bible actually means source. He's been downloading things to us, and it's been giving us divine inspiration, giving us words to actually share. And of course, on Morning Miracles, we've seen it where people have been healed right over the live stream. And somebody would come in and say, like, wow, this is some magical spiritual things going on here. And if you read the Bible, it's all through the Bible of the things that Yeshua did, aka Jesus. Of course, most people will call him Jesus. The works that he did in healing the sick, raising the dead, and casting out devils and things like that. But that's what we normally do and see on Morning Miracles. And so I wanted to do this special live stream with someone who I've been watching for a while. And I can honestly say now that we are acquainted, and I would call her a friend from this day on. And she goes by, her name is Michelle Fielding. She's a spiritual coach. I believe she has many giftings besides being a spiritual coach. She's someone who I have watched on, of course, Nicholas Vinyamin, who I was on his show a couple of times, and then I began to see her on his show. And I was very inspired by the words she was saying and the things that she was talking about spiritually. And it resonated with me because a lot of what she was talking about connected to the language within the Bible. It was just different languages, but the same thing. And it's funny how you come across people who actually they say different words for different things, but it's the same action. It's the same intent. And so I wanted to invite Michelle to come on the show to be able to share her story and share her knowledge, but I also wanted her to share about what she knows and what her guides have been telling her about what's going on with this election, things that are going on behind the scenes with President Trump. And, what do we kind of see or feel that is coming? Because things are getting intense. Of course, we're in election season. The election is right around the corner. We're already in October, and November is coming quickly. And so we want to get some insight on what's to come and get some, ideas on how we should prepare as well. All right. So without further ado, I do want to bring Miss Fielding in, and let's give her, while you're on your screen, watching your screen, let's give her a round of applause and let's show love for Miss Michelle Fielding. All right.
Hi,
Blessings to you,
Joe.
Michelle. Hey, hey,
Hi, Joe.
hey.
Thank you for having me on. What a lovely
Yeah.
introduction.
Oh yes, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you on with us. And like I said, on the other side, it's just I've been a bit of a fan for a while now. Of course, we've both been doing Nick Viniyaman and being able to see you on there. And it just seems like we've all kind of built a bit of a community and staying connected with each other and just being able to give the people truth. So it's an honor to have you on this platform.
Thank you so much. Yes, I've seen you on Nick Veniamin's show before with your friend Delora.
Yes,
And
yes,
then, of course, we are friends on Facebook. So I often see your information coming through my feed,
yeah.
which is always very nice. But yes, it's so nice to be invited on with you. I'm looking forward to talking to you today and your audience.
Amen. Yes, this is gonna be really, really good. Recently, I came across a show you did with Prime Minister,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
which was very, very, very inspirational. And I know you were sharing things that you have experienced in the past and really growing spiritually. And of course, we know as well, Prime Minister, he came out of the church. He came out of the whole religious experience into a more spiritual experience as myself, and just really growing to that point. And it was very good to see how you guys kind of just pretty much connected spirituality. Although you may see somebody coming from this side and then this person coming from the other side, it's all the same. We're all one. We're all one family, and we all are children of the one creator God. And it's just good how we can come together and really share perspectives that actually end up being kind of the same in a sense. But I wanted you to share about how you began to really grow spiritually, how you began to experience your guides in the whole angelic realm.
Yeah, so I suppose, Joe, that when I was born, I probably already had that ability. I was probably already connected, and I didn't actually realize that the things that I was aware of, that perhaps other people didn't know, because you don't realize outside of you that other people don't necessarily experience the world like you do. So I think when I was very young, I was a bit of a loner. I used to always have my dog, and I used to go out in nature a lot and enjoy that. I used to like my own company. And so at that point in my life, I didn't really recognize or understand that anything was different. I just thought everybody felt like that about themselves. And then obviously then I became an adult, and I was able to again, I didn't realize that everybody couldn't do this, but when I was around people, I was able to interpret their deep emotion. And sometimes I could see around them that like an energy field, particularly if they were sad,
Mm,
or depressed or something like that. And again, I didn't realize that wasn't something that other people could necessarily see.
mhm,
And often I would find myself talking directly to people about that. Um, and I would be in a workplace, in an office, suddenly saying to somebody, why do you have pain around here? And of course
wow.
it was very strange to people. They wondered what on earth what was happening. So I had to be aware. That was when I started to realize that the things that I could see and interpret, other people didn't necessarily see those things.
Mhm,
And secondly, they didn't necessarily want me to say about them in the workplace, for instance.
mhm.
So you have to learn at that point that you have something different going on.
Yes.
Then after that, I think what really started everything was that I had some illness after giving birth to my daughter, which wasn't going away. And a friend of mine had said to me, "Come and have some Reiki." Now, I'd never heard of this, I didn't know what it was. And she
Mhm,
explained to me that in her hands, she had this healing energy. And I thought this was amazing. I didn't know if I believed it or not.
mhm,
Anyway, I went along because, I was wanting to get well. And under this healing bed, she had a symbol on a piece of paper just under the bed. And
mhm,
I looked at it and I didn't say anything. I'd never been in this experience before, so I didn't really know what was going to happen. I was a little bit nervous.
mhm.
Then I went on the healing bed, and of course, she started to do the Reiki healing. Now, I think healing it's just healing. It doesn't really matter what you call it. If you have the intention to have healing come through your body, I think you can do it whatever name you give to it.
Yeah.
But in
Mhm,
this instance, she was trained in that particular modality. So I was on this healing bed, and first of all, the thing that I noticed was that obviously she only had 2 hands, but I could feel at least 6 hands on me.
Wow.
And the second thing was that symbol under the bed was so hot, it was coming up through the bed and healing me from underneath. So I sort of went through all that experience, and when I sat up at the end of it, I didn't quite know what to say. But I think I think what happened was that was the start of unlocking this whole new world of things that I'd never really understood before. And bit by bit, this sort of journey started to unlock, where probably about a year later, I was living in Spain, and I started to feel heat in my hands when I was around people. And whereas when I was younger, I used to see the energies, now I was wanting to go up to people and push the energy out of their body. And I could see it on an emotional level, a physical level, and a spiritual level, and I didn't know how I knew it. And
Wow.
I was speaking to this lady that was teaching me basic Spanish, and she said, I know this person that you can go and talk to about that. And he was a spiritual coach, and I went to see him, and I talked for like 2 hours nonstop about all these experiences, Joe, that I was having. You know, I was telling him everything, and I couldn't stop telling him. And then at the end of it, when he went to speak, this is what he said to me. He said, I want you to get a little piece of paper, like a Post-it note, and I want you to stick it on your mirror, in, you know, where you go in the morning. And on the Post-it, you just ask that whatever you need to do today, and whatever words you need to say, that you're giving permission for that to happen.
Yes.
So you're saying to the universe, whatever you want me to do today, however you want me to serve, and in whatever way, whatever words you need me to use, show me how to use them. And he said, and put that on the mirror. It was something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd just been talking, Joe, for like 2 hours about all these amazing things. And that was all he said to me. That was everything he said to me. And I left thinking, wow, you know, he's not a very good spiritual coach.
Right. Just tell you to be that, right?
You know, but he knew that I was in the process of having a spiritual awakening. And in that moment, I needed to ask, because it wasn't his job to tell me what my route was going to be on my path or how it was going to unfold. All he needed to explain to me was that I just need to ask, believe, receive. And so that I did what he said, even though I was a little bit miffed about it, Joe. I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then the most amazing things started to happen. You know, all the people that I needed to come onto my pathway, they started to appear. And the first one was a Reiki master. Isn't that funny? Because, you know, I
Yeah.
just had that healing like
Right.
the year before. And it hadn't left my mind how powerful it had been. So then this Reiki master comes into my field, and I learn how to do the first level. And with that, this most amazing thing started to happen. I could interpret and see orbs and angels and energies. And something that would probably interest you, Joe, was as it happened, it unlocked everything so fast that I actually came face to face with the devil. It was like I went through all the layers really fast. And as you
Yeah.
reach enlightenment, you have to face the devil.
Yes.
And I had 3 days of literally like waking up with fire going up the curtains. And I don't mean that my curtains were literally on fire. What I mean is
Right.
that it's like a vision of fire, and I would look in the mirror and the devil would look back at me, and it was a very frightening experience, but it was something that I had to face.
Hmm.
And once you face the devil like that, front straight at them, and you say, I'm going to keep persevering, then that goes away. So it was like the Reiki attunement had unlocked everything in one big flow. So that's really how it started, Joe. That's really where it all began.
Wow. That's very interesting because I remember I had the same experience
Oh,
when I was growing spiritually. And I was one when I was younger. Um, I used to always stare in the sky because I was one. I used to get visions at a very young age. Uh,
wow.
I used to get visions of just seeing angels, seeing spiritual beings, and it's just like I used to stare in the sky. And so my mother, she worked in the health field, she thought I was having seizures, and so
Yeah.
she had to take me to the hospital to get tested for seizures and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what? Like, and here I am. I guess I was about 9 or 10 at the time. And of course they did all the tests and it was like nothing was wrong, of course. But I was getting visions of angels, seeing what angels were doing. I would get visions of things that are coming or things that have happened. And as soon as I get news about it, it's like I already knew what happened because I saw that in the vision. And as I was
Wow.
growing spiritually, you know, of course, you have the time where the devil comes and visits, and I used to have all these bad dreams and demonic stuff, and of course, being in the church, I couldn't share that with many people, about what I was seeing, visions I was seeing, and different spiritual experiences that were having, because of course, automatically they would say, "No, that's just the devil." That's that psychic stuff. Don't do that. Don't do this. But it was real experiences, and of course, we experience them even to this day, and it's not like they're demonic, but the things that we're doing spiritually are helping people. Like now, I have a live stream that I do, and we're praying for people over the live stream and seeing people getting healed. you
Nice.
know, right over the
Mm.
live stream. And, a lot of different things. I mean, we had a situation, and I've experienced the whole thing with the hands burning, and laying on the hands, and, seeing people healed by laying hands. I've had experiences with praying for people, laying hands on people, and who had back problems, and their legs would grow out, and their backs will be healed because a lot of 9 times out of 10, if you have a lower back problem, you've been in an accident in the past or some things have happened. 9 times out of 10, you have one leg shorter than the other, and that's the reason why you're having most of the back pains, because of one leg being shorter than the other. And we've prayed for people and seen their legs grow right back out, and
Wow.
just all these different spiritual experiences.
What an
um
amazing gift that is. Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing
and you know
gift.
the thing is, Michelle, we all have these gifts. That's like the exciting part, that I'm learning more and more. We all have these gifts. It's just some people haven't activated them yet. Um, and not even just activating them, but most people don't even know they have these gifts, you
This
know.
is true, because what then went on to happen, Joe, was I went on to work with the angels on my own for some years,
Hmm.
getting them to teach me, firstly, what they knew, and secondly, because I wanted to get myself as healed as possible so that I could be a spiritual coach. This is what I wanted to do.
Wow. Yeah.
And in order to do that, they took me through some very intense life experiences, because unless you've been through lots of different things yourself, you may not be able to understand or be compassionate towards others when they come to you with their problems. And so often, if you start asking, "Can I be a spiritual coach?" your life gets turned upside down. Um, as you know. Um, Yes. So I did end up teaching people much later on. how to meditate, first of all, which I sort of class meditation as a listening skill. Praying is where you're asking,
Yeah.
and meditation is where you're listening to the answer.
Hmm.
So I taught that for a little while, and then people would progress on to meeting their guardian angel, and exactly as you've just described, people would come to me thinking maybe that they didn't have the ability, and I would say if you're able to just relax, your mind, like through meditation or contemplation, and just quieten down, even if it's just breathing in a conscious way, you can develop all of these skills. And sometimes you might have one skill stronger than the other, but if you keep working on, this meditation and being in the moment, you'll find that you might be able to develop all the different clair skills, being, clairvoyance, which is clear seeing,
Yes. Yes.
clairaudience, which is clear hearing, claircognizance, where you just have a knowing about things. And then there's a fourth one, clairsentience, which is where you have the ability to feel on your own body the sensations around you. Um, and so I did that for a long time, Joe. And then just before um, the freaky flu, which
You can
see,
say
I'm doing
whatever you
it
want.
again. We can say whatever we want on Rumble. Just before the COVID,
Hmm.
I was given the instruction to change teaching in groups and to go online, to go onto YouTube. And a year before, luckily, I'd started to set things up for that because I was being instructed to do that. And I thought I was going to continue to come onto YouTube and just teach about meditation and angels and things like that. And then the COVID happened, and I realized, this is why they wanted me to have my channel ready. And then I started off doing, meditations and talking about angels. Didn't get any views, really. And then it's quite hard getting a channel started.
Right.
And then I started to get this amazing channeling about what was going on in the world, like what was behind what we were being told. And so the last 4 years, Joe, has been this journey of channeling information for people on YouTube and different channels, um, different platforms, so that they can hopefully feel more calm about what's going on in the world, because it's quite hard to unravel it all, even for me sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Same here. You come across new things and you have new revelations and experiences, and it's like, okay, some of these things I gotta kind of, understand. I gotta let it linger and chew on it for a little bit. It's like when I was teaching on one of my live streams, and we were talking about angels. I did a whole show on angels, and we were talking about how angels are messengers. Um, and I was letting people know that angels can even be some of your past loved ones or past people that you may have known. And I went to the scriptures because it's in the Bible. A lot of people think that this stuff is weird and everything. No, it's in the Bible. Um, when Yeshua, Jesus, was on the mountain, they call it the mountain of transfiguration. The Bible says um, that when the disciples looked over while Jesus was praying, he actually began to glow like the sun. He became light. And what happened was Moses and Elijah appeared next to Yeshua. All right. Now this is years, thousands of years after Moses and Elijah have died. And so I told the people, I was like, well, if Moses and Elijah were dead thousands of years ago, then who are these people? The Bible specifically says it was Moses and Elijah, and the Bible specifically says that they were talking. Jesus was talking with them, right?
Mm.
And so I was showing them, like, look, here's an example in the Bible of you have two messengers, angels, you would call them, who have been deceased. I like to say nobody really dies. They just kind of, they translate into a whole different dimension. Of course, the powers that be have put that word death within our vocabulary, but nobody really dies. They just transition into a whole different dimension. So I'm showing them how, just another aspect of angels can be and being messengers. And these are people who, of course, the world would say is dead, but they're actually alive. They're just in a whole different dimension. So it's interesting, that we're talking about, angels and even channeling. We talk about channeling is no different than what the church would say being prophetic, channeling what angels are saying, what source is saying to us, what Yeshua may be saying to us, and just relaying that message, to the people. So in a sense, we can actually be angels as well.
Yes. So
you know,
angels have appeared to me in human form many times. So
wow.
when you've told me that story now about Jesus and Elijah and Moses appearing to him in human form, that I have experienced myself. So I do know that that's possible.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense to me. I didn't know that story that you've just said because I don't actually know the Bible stories. But that's fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting, very interesting.
Mm.
I want to take a turn and stay in that vein, because I know there is, of course, become a time when you were able, like you were saying, to be able to channel messages from angels, from the angelic, um, and be able to relay message of what's to come and what's going on behind the scenes. Um, Before you share about, because I want you to be able to present of what your guides have been telling you, what the angels have been sharing with you, how did you come into being able to channel? I know you were talking about, it's good to exercise your meditation, being in a relaxed state and
Mm.
breathing. When did you first begin to experience the channeling, and how did that affect you? Like, how was that experience?
Well, in the beginning, Joe, it was a very slow process. I just learned really how to, first of all, connect with my guardian angel because that's a very pure energy. It's 100% love. And
Mhm.
so that means that if you learn to channel with 100% love, that you're in a safe environment. You're not going to be pulling through something that maybe doesn't have your best interests at heart. So I used to work with my guardian angel, and it was a very slow process. It didn't just happen overnight. In
Mhm.
the beginning, I would probably just get a yes or a no, or a feeling, maybe a feeling or a vision. And then over many years, it wasn't just like you get up one day and get a pen and it all comes out. It wasn't like
Right.
that. It took a lot of work, a lot of personal spiritual development, and
Mhm.
it also took a lot of writing down and engaging with the wrong energies.
Yes.
What I mean by that is that when you open up your hearing or your channeling, there are many energies around you, and not
Mhm.
all of them are of the light, should we say.
Right. Right.
And so it takes many years to learn the difference between, when you're hearing a true message of love and when you might have a trickster with you.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and, just because somebody says they're Jesus, it doesn't mean they're Jesus necessarily. You have to
Yeah.
learn to understand the energy of Jesus.
Hmm.
It's a bit like if I called you on the phone, Joe, I can't see you, but you're my good friend and I've spoken to you for 20 years. When you pick up the phone, I know it's you because I recognize your voice.
Hmm.
Now, if tomorrow your friend wanted to try and trick me and they picked up the phone and they wanted to speak about the Bible and then they said, "Oh, it's Joe," I
Yeah.
would know that it's not you because I know what you sound like.
Right.
So when you're learning to channel, it's a very slow process because you have to learn to discern between who is Joe and who is Joe's friend. And so in the beginning, it was slow. And then bit by bit, what I learnt was by working with the angels that I could say to them after I'd done meditation, I could say to the angels, can you tell me about this? And they would give me loving messages from the angelic realms. They don't give, the angels don't give you politics because the angels are not interested in politics. They're only interested in love and healing and, messages of well-being. So if you want to know about politics or what's going on in the world, you're actually engaging with spiritual guides. And that's a whole different layer of people that we have around us. And that again can be a very tricky one to learn about. It takes a lot of experience. I'm 20 years in now, Joe, but
Wow.
in the beginning it wasn't just like one day I woke up and I started writing it down. It does take a lot of trial and error.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. That's interesting because people, and I always say this, and I call them spiritual beings because outside of angels, because of course I don't know, and I'm still looking forward to being more acquainted with that, because one of the things that uh, Source, God, or whoever you want to call it, has showed me is that part of my service to humanity is to help to prepare people for eternity. So even after this life, there's still eternity of things that we'll be doing, and works and operations. And the spiritual purpose while I'm here is to help people prepare for eternity. So being acquainted with spiritual beings, angels, of course, Yeshua, and the different spiritual beings that are our guides, and that can help us. And the Bible talks about all these things, the seven spirits of God, the angelic realm, the seraphim, and, all these different spiritual beings. And so I'm learning more, and looking forward to really learning more about the spiritual guides that you talk about.
well, the thing is, Joe, it's like having if you think of an old-fashioned radio that used to have the little twiddly
Look,
knobs on the front, and you would tune in to Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 3, or Channel 1, Channel 2, Channel 3.
yes.
If you think of each channel as a frequency of light, and if you looked at it as a graph, channel 1 might be down here, and by the time you get to channel 6, the graph might be going up like that. Okay, so that would be the amount of light on channel 6. And if you think of each channel as a different entity in the outer world, so channel 1 might be your great Aunt Nellie who's passed over. And great Aunt Nellie, she's a lovely soul, but she, bless her, she's not the most spiritual person. And so if you're tuned in to channel 1 and you say to her, should I marry this particular man? And she doesn't like that man, she's not going to tell you to marry that man. She's going to try and not, she's not allowed to say anything particularly unkind, but she won't be overly enthused about you necessarily being with that person or taking that route in your life, because
Right.
she, in her, just because she's passed over doesn't mean she's necessarily ascended in any way. you know
Uh,
so you would just be tuning into Aunt Nellie, okay? And then as you go along your spiritual journey and somebody teaches you how to bring in more light, more healing, light is just wisdom,
yeah.
light is just knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and then you learn how to tune into different channels. The angels would be all the way over here, which is where the highest light is. So when you're learning about different beings, it's like you're trying to tune into different channels. And as you learn to do it, you learn to, like we were saying with the telephone call, you
Mm-hmm.
learn to recognize how it feels when you're talking to an angel, and how it feels when you're engaging with Great Aunt Nellie.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in between there, you've got your ascended masters. So an ascended master is somebody that was very spiritual in their living life. And then when they passed over, they continued that work on the inner dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got your Great Aunt Nellie, then you've got your spiritual masters, and then, or your spiritual guides, and then you've got the angels. And so you can see where the graph goes in terms of how much love or light the being holds within their makeup.
The makeup. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Wow, that's so interesting, and it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I had a question one time um, about spiritual things, and also, by the way, I do have Michelle's link scrolling at the bottom. buymeacoffee.com/Michelle
Oh,
Field. Is that right, Michelle?
I think so, Joe.
Okay, that's what I saw
I'm
on
not.
on
Yes, I
Telegram.
am. Okay, well, thank you for putting that on. Yes, I
Yes.
do have lots of different links, but they're all
Okay.
in a list somewhere. So thank
Okay.
you for looking that up for me.
Yes. So if you guys want to get in contact with her and see the great work that she does and be a part, you can go to that link. And somebody asked, I had a question. Somebody asked about, okay, when you're sensing these spiritual beings around you, how do you know whether it's an angel or it's Yeshua or the Holy Spirit or a demonic spirit or whatever? And I was just like, wow, that's a good question, because most of how I sense it is through feelings, and there's certain manifestations like I feel in my body. Like I may feel chills, or the hairs may stand up on on my arm, or sometimes I would just get a headache, or I can
Wow.
feel certain frequencies, especially when it's something that is of way low frequency, like a demonic
Yes.
entity or something that's evil. The
Mm,
frequency is just really low, and it's just like, okay, I need to raise the frequency here, or I need to get out of here. Um,
mm.
and that's what I tell people. And it seems like what you're saying. It's like there's different channels of frequency that you tap into, and depending on the channel and frequency you tap into, that's who you're going to get. Am I right by saying that?
Kind of. So the way to that I teach people is, first of all, to call in who you want to talk to. Like, you
Mm,
don't just pick up the telephone and dial any old number when you're going to speak to somebody. If you want to speak to Joe, you dial Joe,
right,
right?
right.
So the first thing is learning how to dial the right number.
Hmm.
And then when you've dialed the right number, you can still get tripped up. There's all sorts of scams going on in real life, and there's still scams going on in the spiritual world. So
Right.
what you do is, even though you've dialed the right number, before you did that, you set up a protective field around you. Okay, so that could be, for instance, that you lit a candle and you dedicated it to your guardian angel, or to Jesus, or to whatever deity or person has meaning for you. You might just light a candle and dedicate it to God in general, or
Hmm.
to the creator. It's whatever has meaning for you. So the first thing that I always teach people is how to, first of all, have a protective space, like a sacred space where you go to do this. Where you have your candle, you might have nice music playing, you might like incense and things like that.
Hmm.
And so you get like a protective energy already around you. That's
Yes.
a very important thing. And
Yes.
then what I normally do when I'm teaching is I get people to only connect and only ask for their guardian angel. Because the guardian angel is pure love. It has no ego and it has no negative intention towards you. And it can only act on your instruction. So you have to ask your guardian angel to come forward. So if something came forward before you'd done that, you can guarantee that's not your guardian angel because you haven't asked it.
Right.
And once you've asked your guardian angel to come forward, it will give you a sign. It will give you a sensation exactly like Joe was explaining. And it will be something significant for you, very personal for you. And so that's the way I normally teach people, so that they're on the highest frequency as they learn to do this whole opening up. Then after that, as they learn to go into other archangels or different beings within the angelic hierarchy, they can start to discern between, when I spoke to my guardian angel, it felt like that. And today, when I've called in Archangel Michael, I saw blue. I saw the color blue. Or I felt this or that or whatever it is. And then today, when I called in Archangel Raphael, who's the healer, I saw green, or I felt this healing energy. So what you start to do is you start to learn the different angels. You start to learn the different ways that archangels feel. And so you start there, basically, Joe. But then if you want to go into the channeling that I do, where you're talking about world events, you're then having to tune into a whole different group, a spiritual, like your guides, spiritual guides, or ascended masters. And that's a whole new ball game. So when the people are asking, how do you know who you're talking to? You know, because you start with one being, and I normally suggest you start with your guardian angel. And if it takes 7 years of meditating every day with your guardian angel, do it. Because at least you'll get to know them, you'll know them like your best friend, you'll know every aspect of their energy. And then if you get a being that's of low intention come in, you'll know, no, that's not correct. That's not an angel. And that's how you learn then to not engage with that energy.
Right. Man, that's perfect. Very well said. Very good. Yeah, thank you for that, because that's definitely been a question, and really helped me out. Thank you so much. Um, what is it? Before we get off the live stream, we're about 45 minutes in. We have about 25 people on the live stream.
Wow.
I'm sure people are wanting to know, what have you been told about what is to come going as we get closer to this election? Uh, we know that they know, the evil, the powers that be, the cabal knows that Donald Trump they know that he's going to win. He's already won. I believe it. And uh, I believe on the way out, they're going to cause all kinds of ruckus, and people have been thinking that, like, okay, we got the hurricane that's taking place. We got all this stuff going on with Puff Daddy that's coming out. It's so many different things that are happening at one time. What are some of the things that the guides have been showing you that is taking place? And give the people an encouraging word on what they should do to kind of prepare, I guess, for where we're going.
Okay, so what they've always told me is that Donald Trump is not really the president. He is the commander in chief, and that he was brought along to, in the background, set up a military plan, a worldwide military peace plan. And that everything that you see at the front, whether when he was elected, and then we had Biden.
Oh, Let's see.
Worldwide going to be part of our new
Okay.
financial system and our new devolved voting systems and all the devolution to the people. And so while they're getting all that set up in the background, you're going to see all this going on at the front. Now, in terms of what's going to happen in the next election, they've got quite a few different things that they have planned. And I think it's going to be a little bit chaotic. But whatever goes on, however it turns out, it doesn't really matter, because what's the important thing is what goes on after that, in terms of when they start the new transitional government, what they're calling the new transitional government. You're not going to have any elected sort of presidents or leaders in the way that you currently understand it. You're going to have ambassadors for peace, or ambassadors for health, or different figureheads, which instead of telling us how to run our lives, are going to be helping us devolve responsibility to us. So an example might be that when the election comes, it might not be an outright winner. You might have something called a hung government, where no party actually took the lead, right? And so then they both have to work together. And in the background, you've got this new system being set up in order for it all to be devolved to us anyway. And so what you might see is somebody like Elon Musk being somebody that explains to the public, we're going to restructure your federal governments and the way that all the financial system's set up. And this is how you can have a say in it. And then you might have Robert Kennedy Jr. Being the health ambassador. He's already started that role. Yes. And he might be saying to us, if you don't like vaccines, you don't have to have vaccines. And did you know that all these things in our water might not be correct, or all the things they're doing to your food might not be correct? And it's going to start, you're going to start seeing more people like that, who are giving dialogue where people can start thinking for themselves. And it's called devolution of governance. And to back all that up is a cybersecurity and technical system in the background that's being set up at Starlink level, which is going to help you to be able to have your say in the future. So instead of lots of layers of government like we have right now, and possibly like the president role might even go, you'll just be voting directly to maybe the Starlink system. And it will all be down to you in your street, in your local community, to decide, what do you want your water to look like? Do you want your children vaccinated? Do you want to pay tax on this, that, and all the other? Do you want to be able to vote for who comes and looks after your refuge or whatever? You know, right. your rubbish disposal. So everything in the future will look different, and you'll have different types of people, not just elected officials, but you could have singers or actors who are going to help with this devolution. They're going to help us to give the message to us that we can actually decide what we want for ourselves. So the elections, however many more we may have, I don't know, but they're just all placeholders, because this big system that they're trying to set up in the background is a technological system which can handle all these functions that we're going to be asking for from our devolved. So we're going to have our phone, going to have our apps, and we're going to be saying, you know, I don't want to have this company do this anymore in my community. I want to vote for this company. And so that will go directly to the cyber system. And so all these layers of government that have been corrupted and taking all our money, those layers are going to be taken out. And so the reason we're having these elections at the front is just because in the background they're trying to get all of that technological system set up for us. Because obviously, if we're trying to do that around the whole world, that's a big task.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's good. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I
And that's
talk.
the best way with having Starlink already set up. Most of the satellites set up all over the world.
Yeah. So the point of Starlink, which is now called Starshield, it's now been taken over by the military, is it's not a control mechanism. It's just a mechanism for being able to get all the countries around the world to sign in to the system by agreeing to a certain set of protocols. And those protocols are essentially two things. One, that they won't harm their citizens, and two, they won't harm other countries. So in order for all the countries to join this Starlink system, this worldwide system, they have to agree to those two main principles. I'm obviously making it very simplistic. It's a lot more involved than that.
Yeah, yeah.
What that means is this system will run banking, internet, communications, voting, lots of different things. If one of those countries in the future was to break one of those protocols of not looking after its citizens or trying to harm another country, then the rest of the countries within that Starlink system could vote to exclude you. And that would mean that they could switch off your internet in your country, or they could switch off your banking, or switch off something that you need.
Wow.
And so there won't be a need for war in the sense that we see now, where they're throwing bombs at each other. You'll just be able to say, if you think Joe's one country and I'm the other, if Joe, heaven forbid, didn't behave in the way that the protocols were agreed to, I could actually just cut you off, Joe, and say, until you come back into the agreed protocols of the worldwide peace plan, we're not going to switch on your internet or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm explaining it in very simplistic terms, but in order to set all that up around the world, they've had to create a space force in each country, which is all now signed in.
Yes.
And when I first started saying this 4 years ago, people were absolutely thinking I'd gone completely crazy. But now there is actually evidence that there is a
Yes.
space agency in every country that's signing in. And so the only thing we need now is to secure it all with a very sophisticated cybersecurity layer. And so that's what's taking a bit of time, is they've got to get it all secured. And in the meantime, in the front, you still see all of the drama with, the elections. But what that also does is it helps people to wake up to what they don't want. They don't want that fiasco anymore with that old system. So there's quite a lot going on, Joe.
Wow. Wow. That's very interesting. I love the fact that you know there's a push to give the power back to the people. And it sounds like that's where things are pretty much going back to. Um, but it's good to know that behind the scenes things are looking good compared to what we see on mainstream media. I think mainstream media is just showing the results of evil just getting uncomfortable and being on their way out of here. These people who have been in place, who's been in governmental officials and all these top positions, they're now getting ready to be on their way out. This whole thing
Yeah.
with just Kamala is just, I mean, it's a fiasco. Everybody knows it's like this is the Democratic Party is totally corrupt. You know,
So in the future, it might be as soon as this election that's coming, you might find something happens where you have no elected leaders at all, and you might need to go into something called military law,
yes,
or martial law, I think is another word you use there.
martial law.
Effectively, a lot of countries are already running that way, but you just don't see it because, again, you have this facade going on that you still have governments. But in the background, all the world is really under military law right now. And then when everything's ready to switch to these devolved settings, then obviously all those layers will go, and you'll all be ready to start doing your voting, and you'll have all these lovely ambassadors set up and ready to go. Well, and what we're seeing at the moment is the kind of introduction of people like Elon Musk coming into what is essentially government roles.
Yes,
So, like a year ago or longer, I said that Elon Musk would have a presidential role. I didn't say he'll be president. I said he'd have a presidential role. And everybody said to me I was crazy and he's not even American and he couldn't do this and that. And now, of course, it's just been announced that he's going to, if Trump, and obviously Trump will be in the front at some point, but he's
yeah,
going to be head of Department of Government Efficiency. And as we've been starting to see now, they're working closely together, Trump
yes,
and Musk. They're also setting up the financial system for America in the background with X.com. And you'll see a lot more of that being unveiled. Just recently, Donald Trump said that he was bringing in the Defiant One's cryptocurrency, which is going to run through the X.com banking structure. And
wow,
that banking structure is going to be overseen by that military system that I was telling you about. And all these things that I'm telling you about today are all in videos over at mylocals.com, and it's explained in a lot more detail. But essentially, everything that's coming up is going to just be a way to dismantle what the public currently understand to be government,
yes, yes.
to move you to governance.
Okay, yes, yes, and that's at michellefielding.locals.com. If you go there,
That's
you can
right.
get all this
Yes.
information. Yeah,
Yes,
that's good.
because each part of what I've just explained to you very briefly is a whole subject on its own. Each part of that is a subject on its own, and it's all been covered in the past sort of 3 years in videos that explain all the layers that are being set up so that we can devolve governance to the people.
Nice, nice. Well, I really applaud you for the work that you're doing. I mean, because you've really been consistent for quite a few years now, and um, just the messages that you're getting have been spot on. I mean, they've been spot on, and in the church world, people always look towards the prophets, and there are some good prophets, but there's a lot of prophets that haven't been spot on, and but you are one of those people, prophets slash channelers that have been spot on with your messages. So I really appreciate that. And so if you guys want more, yeah, if you guys want more information and on the messages that she put out, you can definitely go to michellefielding.locals.com and
So what,
get all that information.
Joe, what have, because you were saying that obviously you have some abilities as well. So when do you get messages about elections, or what kind of message, or are your messages purely like teachings of spirituality, or How does it work for you, Joe?
I usually get messages on what is to come, and it's kind of like what you said. When you're channeling, you're dialing on different frequencies,
Yeah.
and you ask, you ask your guardian angel, or you ask Yeshua, or you ask whoever. And that's what I do. I did that when Donald Trump was first elected, because I knew Hillary wasn't going to be elected. But then it was only Donald Trump who was left. And I was thinking like somebody else was just going to come in and, take that Donald Trump role. I was like oblivious to it. And so when Donald Trump was elected, it was just like, okay. And so I asked, you know, I call him Father, I call God Father, Source. I said, Father, what is this? Why is Donald Trump, you know, the elected president? Why did you choose him? You know? And so this is what he told me. He said, Donald Trump will be used to bring judgment to America.
Wow.
And of course, I understood that judgment was was either a bad or a good thing, depending on who it was for. And so we know that our country has been corrupt for so many years. And of course, at the time, Obama was in there. We know all the stuff Obama was doing. But the Father told me he sent Donald Trump to be judgment for America. And ever since Donald Trump has been in there, the evil
Yeah.
has been judged, and they're reaping what they've sown, and justice has been served behind the scenes. Of course, that's when the whole military operation rolled out behind the scenes. And so I get things like that when I ask. Sometimes I may just get spontaneous words of knowledge, just like you. We call it words of knowledge, where we can see and know that somebody has pain in a certain area of their body. And so
Wow.
just like you have
Yeah.
that, I can see that and I can feel it too sometimes. And I would just ask a person, hey, do you have, pain in your hip, or you have a headache right now? And they'd be like, how did you know that? And it's the same thing, that you do. I have that feeling, or I just have that knowing. Um, it's pretty interesting. And then for my teachings, I get revelation as I research, and I'm led by where to research. I'm just directed to the information. And so once I get the information, it's like I just share it. I just like to share it. I'm in service to humanity. It's just
Exactly.
how way I can
Yes.
serve. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
those are the abilities right now.
Well, at the very beginning, Joe, I had a vision. Uh, well, a dream, actually. It was a dream. Sometimes I get dreams.
Mm,
And the dream was that Donald Trump was in a tunnel and he had a clipboard, and all around him were military personnel. And I could see him sort of pointing to people saying, you're going to do item one, you're going to do item two. And then he was ticking it off. And so what they were showing me was that he was commander in chief. Now,
uh,
this is all the way back when COVID just started. And I wasn't in the USA. I didn't really know much about Donald Trump or anything. But from that moment, I realized that he was a very significant role, and that dream alone showed me that.
wow.
And then a few months later, I had another dream where I was sitting up at the Hollywood Hills with Donald Trump on a bench,
Hmm.
and I had my head kind of leaning on his shoulder.
Hmm.
And he was saying to me, we were looking out over Hollywood, and he was saying, everything's going to be okay. You see? And so when you get dreams like that, you just know that this person, first of all, has been sent for a very important role. And secondly, when you're told like that in a dream, everything's going to be okay. I don't know about you, Joe, but that's confirmation for me that, you know, this person is very significant in the, like you said, the judgment, the clearing of the
Yes.
swamp,
Hmm.
the awakening of, America, and possibly the whole world.
Yes, I believe the whole world. But Michelle, notice where you were at when you guys were sitting at that bench on the bench. You were in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Overlooking. Yeah.
And you see what's going on in Hollywood even now. You
Yeah.
know, just the stirring. And I always think of because when I think of Hollywood, I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the child trafficking in America has been going through Hollywood. I think Hollywood has been like one of the main hubs besides DC, where a lot of the child trafficking has been going.
Mm. Mm.
And so when you said that, that really hit home, and justice is taking place, is being served, for the children as well. I mean, with the whole Puff Daddy case, that has a lot to do with the child trafficking and the human trafficking, the women and stuff, but mainly the kids too. And this is, I believe,
Mm.
why the feds had to step in.
Yes.
The kids that
Yes.
were, being trafficking. So wow, that's very
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah. Yeah, that helped to secure it for me because all of us on this journey have had doubts about whether we're doing the right thing, whether we're supporting the right people, what on earth's going on. We all have days when we don't really understand everything. And so when we have a dream like that or a vision, it helps us to stay on track because,
Yes.
as I was saying to you before we went live, I used to teach about angels and meditation
Mhm.
and spiritual development. And when the COVID came, suddenly I was being given information about a worldwide military peace plan. And many a times, especially when I get visions a year out, I've wondered, am I doing the right thing? Am I serving God in the right way?
Mhm.
And sometimes you want to step out of it and stop.
Yeah.
And then you have to think to yourself, if God didn't want me to be the spokesperson for this subject, He wouldn't give me the vision, He wouldn't give me the words.
Hmm.
And do you remember when I went at the beginning, I was saying I had the sticker and it said, show me what you want me to do today and
Yes.
show me the
Yes.
words that you want me to use.
Hmm.
And that's what He's doing.
Wow.
That's what's happening. So even when I have a I have wobbly moments. I'm sure you do, Joe. You have wobbly
Mhm.
moments. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
Because, like, I'm sure you're the same. I take what I do very seriously.
Hmm.
It's a big responsibility when you're helping people to heal, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's a big responsibility that you mustn't do it from a place of ego.
Hmm.
Um, and so when you're then channeling about what seems to be a military plan for the world, sometimes it has been a little bit daunting,
Hmm.
the amount of responsibility that I'm carrying when I'm giving that message. So I always just step back and let the energies of heaven uh, guide me. I don't try to control it.
Nope.
I just let them use me as their vehicle, their scribe.
Yeah. Yeah. You go with that flow. You go with that flow as a used
Yeah,
vessel. You know. Um,
yeah,
to be used by God, and that you have been, and I also see you as an ambassador. I think I see you as an ambassador for good, for the good of humanity, and for the kingdom of God. You know,
oh, thank you.
I
That's very
really do.
kind. But all of us, I just recently put out a video a few days ago where it was a spiritual teaching where they were saying that we are nodes of light, all of us, you,
Yeah.
me, and the others who are serving. And when you put all the nodes of light together, it creates a matrix of love.
Mm,
And it was a very powerful channeling, which is on my YouTube at the moment. And so I see you and me as two nodes in that network. and we're both helping as a team.
Yeah, 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 yeah. For the collective of light, man, that's something. Yeah, this is powerful. I'm really excited for the outcome of this video, of this collective, us joining together along with others, um, to be a light, to be a light, um, a great light that lights up the whole world, that just repels darkness. Um, and light is wisdom, but light also represents truth, and to be able to
Yeah.
have that truth to put out into the world, into the universe, um, so that people can wake up and people can know the truth and become free, you know, become free. And so I'm looking forward to what comes from this. And it's just an honor they really have you on for
Oh.
this time. And wow, it's an hour and 12 minutes. It just felt like it was only 30 minutes, really. But but this is good, Michelle. I definitely have to have you back. We have to do more of these soon, and I would love to. We definitely have to collab on some more things as an initiative
Yes.
to really, help humanity with these
Yes,
spiritual
that would be
issues.
nice. Yeah,
Yes,
that would
yes,
be very
yes.
nice, Joe.
Yeah, let's do that. So listen, guys, we're going to close out this live stream. Like I said, I have the link, one of the links scrolling down at the bottom, buymeacoffee.com/Michelle Field. Also, of course, you can go to my locals, which is Michelle Fielding. I believe it's .locals.com. And that's locals, like your local area, but with an S.
That's right.
Locals.com, and you'll be able to get all of those messages, more of the messages than what she shared today. And they're all categorized, so it'll be easy to really pick and choose which one you
Yeah.
listen to.
You can find me at Telegram as well. If you everything I post, Telegram's a good starting place because it sort of leads you to all the other platforms. So
Okay.
if you can't remember what we've said today, find me on Telegram and it will direct you to the other platforms.
Yes, yes. And the name on Telegram, if you search Michelle Fielding Spiritual Coach, then her Telegram will come up, and you'll be able to see everything on there. It's kind of like the hub, I guess, of everything. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, so awesome. So
Yeah.
Michelle, once again, thank you so much for doing this. I'm looking forward to many more shows and collaborations, especially as we get closer um, to the other side. Because I
Yes.
believe, I believe, we all, myself, you, and others, that God will connect through His light. We all will play a big role on the other side to be able to help people to be able to operate in what they're called to do, what their purpose to do, to restore humanity after what we've been through with all this evil and all this stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, once again, thank you so much. Listen, guys, the video will be up so you can watch it again if you like. And listen, have a good day, and we'll see you guys next time. All right. God bless.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Bye bye.